Yo, what's up? I'm here at the laundromat. Of course, I gotta wash my clothes, just piling up throughout the week. You never decide to wash them, and so it just gets to a ridiculous amount. That's why I'm here. I'll be doing a little bit of sketching here, and then later I will show you my process on the computer. Alright, peace. Victor here. Welcome to another video. This one today, I'm teaching you guys how to draw a face as accurate as possible so you can show it to all your friends that you're the coolest motherfucking drawer ever in the world. It'll take a few tries. It took me, 11 years. So hopefully it doesn't take you that long. That's why you get a mentor. That's what they're here for. Basically skyrocket you to another level. I don't know why I can't speak. I don't know how to speak English sometimes. So yeah, I'll be teaching you how to draw, basically rendering a face from the neck up as accurate as possible. It'll take you a few tries, but eventually you'll get it. Actually, when I went to La Villa School of the Arts, it's like a middle school. I actually cheated to get into the school by tracing my portfolio. I had like a little folder, and you basically have your drawings in there. You give it to the person who is in charge of enrollment. I think one of them was this woman that was she had a bathing suit on. It was from these Victoria's Secret magazines that my mom used to buy all the time, and she didn't know. My mom didn't know that I was taking. My mom did not know I was taking her magazines and drawing. I was doing more than just drawing. I was doing more than just drawing the women in these magazines. So I started drawing those, and I actually traced a few of my drawings to get in to this school. Yeah, so I got in, and from there, go to Douglas Anderson. Douglas Anderson is a high school, and it's like the big brother of La Villa School of the Arts. And if you go to La Villa, you're pretty much accepted into DA automatically. It's like, oh, nepotism. Look it up, that word. So today, I'll be teaching you how to draw a face, and you're going to be pretty damn good by the end of this video. So stick around, and let's get drawing. Alright, hello, what's good? Here we are at my computer, and this is my reference photo. We'll be using this, we'll be marking this for measurements and stuff, showing you how I generally measure things. Although I'm more of an eyeballer, so I usually eyeball my measurements. So to start off this drawing, I like to get a general shape of the head so that I know how big the features will have to be, because I want to see how much space that the figure will take up on my piece of paper. So that's what I'm doing right now. Alright, so we have that general shape. Nothing too organic, just kind of blocking out the shape and stuff. That line I just made, that's like the bangs. But I just like to get the general shape of what I'm working with. Alright. So the second thing you want to do is figure out the middle line of the face. So I draw that middle line right there. And then you also want to figure out the height of the head and the middle of that head. So we can take a departure to our reference here. I'm going to be using a few things like the line tool. I'm just going to figure out how long the head is and figure out the middle of the head so that I can figure out where to put the eyes, because I always like to start off with the eyes. So here we go. I like to estimate the eyes are like in the middle, like right there. Okay, so the eyes are like right there in my opinion. You also want to look at the angle of the eyes. So are they like up like this? um are they down like that? Are they just going straight and just slightly angled? In this case, it looks like the eyes are slightly angled upward. By doing that, you just measure the corner of the right eye to the corner of the left eye. Right there, you can see that the eye is slightly angled, very, very slightly. Then you look at the angle at which the nose is. You can kind of measure that by like the nostrils. So I'm seeing there like that. Then the mouth looks kind of angled a little bit perpendicular, which basically means the the if the lips was if there was a line going along the lips, it would eventually touch the line going with the nose. Um, okay. Anyway, so let's start with the eyes. Let's draw the eyes over here. So looks like so just make a line for the eyes right there. I'm guessing the eyes are around there. They're not. I don't think they're particularly in the middle of the head. I think they're a little bit higher. All right, so let's dial in the eyes really quick and just put the eyes roughly where you think the eyes would be. It honestly doesn't matter because you'll figure out the rest of the features based on the size of the eye. I usually like to eyeball um, how big the eyes are. Um, to be honest, I feel like it's better to make the eyes a little bit bigger than you think they are, because then you can always make them smaller if need be. Um, I usually dial in the iris as well. A little trick that I learned is measuring the width of the eye. So it's sort of like an anatomical rule of thumb is that the space between each eye, there's basically an eye in between. So what you can do is take the tool and measure. So if you're looking at my computer, measure, put like an eye in between each eye. And that piece of paper that we created earlier, let's do that here. So if the eye is about that wide, what you gotta do is take it and make another line, and that indicates
where the second eye begins. Like I said, the eye is kind of angled, so let's make an almond shape because her eyes seem to be in that almond shape. And they it looks like they kind of twang up a little bit at the end. All right, and so I like to put in the iris. It's closer to the other side. And that looks really weird. Then I also like, once I'm doing the eye, I also like to measure the space that's where the eye begins and where like the, what do you call it, the arch of the nose, where the arch of the nose begins. So I like to measure. So if you look at the computer, so that's it. Don't ask me. Um. So yeah, you measure like from here to. Sorry. So you measure it from here to here. So it looks like it's about that. Basically, by the bridge of the nose is basically this area. That's the bridge of the nose. So I basically draw that line and draw that line. Just looking at my paper, draw a line, draw that line, draw that line. Don't like it to be too dark. Just make it a little bit light. And that's kind of where the bridge of the nose begins. And at this point is a pretty good time to figure out where the nose begins. So, rule of thumb, I like the rule of thumb, I figure out where the nose begins. Um, I use a combination of my horizontal lines along with diagonal lines to figure this out. So going back to my reference, it's very, very important to figure out how long the nose is. You don't want a nose that's too short or too long. Um, Generally, you want to put a line, and that just kind of helps you get an idea of where the nose will end, where it'll begin. Looking at your reference photo, you've made a line for your eyes, and you made a line for your nose. You made a line for your lips, for the lips. Um, so let's start with the nose. So right under the eyes, there's like the bags under the eyes. Everyone has bags under the eyes, or even if it's just like a little bulge that occurs whenever, um, basically your eye is a ball. So under your eyes, there's like this little like bump, and that just like indicates where your eyeball is. And I use that space in between. Here, look at the screen. I use that space in between. I use this space to kind of figure out where the nose begins. This area is like very important. So I like to indicate how thick that is, like like how wide is this area here. So look at your drawing and then kind of create that bag. You're not gonna like leave these permanently, but you don't want it to be too short. That doesn't make sense. You don't want it to be too long. That doesn't make sense. You want it to be kind of in the middle. So erase these, and that's about where the nose begins. So so once we have that space, let's figure out where the nostril is. So so you have that space. Let's like pretend the nostril's right here. Another looks really, she looks like a witch right now. Um, so let's look at the reference photo, and I'll show you a little trick to figure out how to get the width of the nose once you have this measurement. Once you have this measurement, let's figure out where the nose begins. So let's take the line tool and take like where the tear duct of her eye is. Um, take a line and measure that and see how far out the nostril comes. See how far out the nostril comes. So you have that line right there, and you see the nose kind of like peeks out a little bit right there. So let's draw that. You get on my drawing here. I have a ruler just for like preciseness. So this is the eye duct. This is actually, yeah, this is the eye duct, and then you take it, make the line as straight as possible. You don't want to get too you don't want it to be diagonal like that. You want it to be straight. So take the eye duct, make a line, and like I said, the nose comes out a little bit farther. So that's basically where the nose begins. All right, cool. So we have that measurement, and then we have the nose measurement. So let's start rendering and just start drawing this nose out. Okay, so you can erase these if you want. If you're tired of your drawing looking like a witch. Um, all right, so now let's get the width of the nose completely. To get the other side of the nose, let's go back to our little reference here. You'll notice that the iris of the eye is literally stops. Literally stops at the beginning. Literally stops at the beginning of the nose. So if you make a straight line from the iris, stops like right at the tip, right here. That's where the edge of the nose is. So with that information, let's draw that. Take your little ruler and maybe we should have developed the eye a little bit more before we, um, oops, sorry. Develop the nose, or sorry, develop the eye a little bit so that we can, so as we know, right here, in between here, this is the width of the eye. Right there, that's the width of the eye. I can prove it to you. Yeah, that's the width of the eye. Let's say there's another eye right here. Okay, so with that, we know that the eye duct is right here, and the iris is right here. So let's take that iris, let's make it straight down, a line straight down like we did. And that shows that the end of the nostril is right there. So let's draw that in. All right. So now that we got this video is mainly just about proportion and how to lay out the face. I'm just gonna like draw this in a little bit. And when you're drawing these, and like when you're starting to render the features and start shading stuff in, you can start shading whenever you freaking want. Um, I start shading pretty early on just so I can get like a better idea of how things are looking. Um, I'll make future videos on like how to shade in eyes. It's pretty straightforward. Um, you just kind of like block out the highlight, and then you just kind of shade it in. So let's start. Let's go down to where the lips are. All right, let's go down to where the lips are, and um, sorry, I always get caught up in the draw. It's so fun. Um, all right, I'll stop. I'll stop. Okay. So let's measure like from the end of the nose to the beginning of the lips. How do we do that? Um, a lot of it is eyeballing. You can use the measurement of the eye to help you out. So let's try that. Eraser tool. Okay, let's try that out. Let's turn this vertically, and you'll notice that the width of the eye is almost. It goes almost like it almost goes from like the end of the nose to the bottom of the lips. Like it's literally almost there. Um, like literally, it ends like about right there. That's like Yeah, that's like the width of the eye from the end of the nose to the bottom of the lips. So you can probably use your little piece of paper that has the width of your eye on it. Help you remember it by drawing the eye. All right, so yeah, you make that line right there, and that's the bottom of the lips right there. Um, what you can also notice is that if you cut that in half, that's where you'll see. Let's make it a different color. That's where you'll see. That's where the top of the lips start. So if you take that and you divide it in half, it's about where the lips start, right there. So let's render that out. Let's draw that a little bit. What's also important is where the lips begin. So how do I know how far to make the lips? You take your eye measurement. Going back to the reference. Let's go back to the reference. Why not? Move that out of the way. And let's take another line and let's draw that all the way down. What's cool is that it's pretty much a straight line. Like if you look from the iris past the nose to the lips, everything is like in a straight line. So the lips start exactly where everything else starts. So this whole line, the lips start like right there. So let's make that little line. She's smiling, so let's make her smile. And you can shade that in if you want. I'm also looking at, if you look at the computer, I'm also looking at the undrawn, the untampered with photo. And that just gives me like an idea of what her her features actually look like, so I can actually enjoy drawing this. um yeah, and so just start rendering out the lips here. You can go all the way down to where you drew the bottom of the mouth, and that's where the lips end. All right, let's get these eyebrows in because she's looking kind of creepy. Um, so, fi- so figuring out where to start the eyebrows. It's kind of like it's kind of like another eyeballing method. Um, let's take the pen tool and you'll just notice that like where the duct is, like the tear duct, take that area and it's like this slight diagonal form. So look at the drawing where the tear duct is like a slight diagonal. And that's really where the eyebrow begins. And looking at the angle of the brows, just, oops, stop that tool. Um, it's just like this like angle goes like that, then another one goes like that. And then you also want to get the measurement from her eyelash to the edge of the brow. So let's kind of like draw that shape. It's like this diagonal, and then it goes down, and that's where the brow ends. So you can just color that in, really. Don't be afraid to look at your reference photo. It's like your best friend. Reference photo is your best friend. This is for those who want to draw realistically. If you're a if you're a digital artist or if you like to draw anime and stuff, this also helps to draw anime. Let's also draw the eyelid here. It's only just it's just a sliver of space. So you can literally just go, it's really easy. Okay, and so now we have the eyebrow, stops like right there. You can even color in the eyelash a little bit. So yeah, that's where the eyebrow pretty much ends. And then let's do the other eyebrow. Going back to our reference, if you see the eye duct here, eye duct, and then here's like where the bridge of the nose begins. The bridge of the nose is like that much. So there's like these four lines. Like these four lines that kind of indicate where the bridge of the nose is, and then there's like a space in between the eye duct. There's like this space where there's the eye duct, there's like this lag, and it's hard to draw with on the computer. Anyways, there's like these four lines that indicate the width of the nose. So if you took your drawing here, you drew those four lines. Oops. Um, is that five lines? So yeah, there kind of seems to be like there's five lines for this one because this is the angle of which this person took this photo. Um, there's more space on this side than this side. If we're measuring from the eye duct, there's a lot more space here than right here, and that's because of the angle of the camera. So what we're trying to get is the where the brow begins on the left hand side. So looking at the reference photo, um, let's look at the duct of the left eye. It goes like straight up. There's not really like it doesn't start over here. Like the brow doesn't start right here. The brow starts right here. So it's like a straight up and down line. So looking at my drawing, let's draw a straight line and begin drawing the eyebrow. And it's just like, you know, a casual diagonal. And then you can even render out the eyelash a little bit and get that, um, looking at the digital reference, you'll notice that from the eyebrow to the eyeball, there's like this diagonal line to indicate the edge of the face. So it's just it's a lot of a matter of getting used to. It's a lot of getting used to just looking at your reference a lot and figuring out how things are laid out. Just understanding the anatomy of your model. So I'm just kind of like rendering this out a little bit. And honestly, the bags of the eyes are a really good measurement because you can just figure out so much by just looking at, like, that's how I got, how far the nose is from the eyeballs. It's by looking at like the bags of the eyes and then like measuring that space in between. So we have a good amount of the proportions here. So let's just start figuring out the shape of the head and like the size of the head. So let's look at your reference photo and let's try to figure out how thin exactly is her face. Um, of course, you can do this by eyeballing. Um, like people have said before, it's a matter of using basic shapes. So if you look at the side of her face and you kind of figure out the angle, like what is the angle? Does her face go out this much? Does her face shrink in this much? Um, figuring out the perfect, well, not perfect, but figuring out the shape that matches angle at which her face is going. So there seems to be like kind of a triangle shape here. To be aggressive with it, there's like a triangle shape here. So you can even draw that in. You can draw that triangle there. So looks like the triangle goes like that. That's kind of like the angle of her face. And also what's important is the space right here. It's like making parallel lines by her lips and by the edge of her face. So if you make these lines right here, you can go back to your drawing and do the same thing. So her face goes in like quite a lot. So that's where it goes in. And then let's eyeball how big her chin is. We all know her chin is not this big. Like that just wouldn't make sense. We know her chin is not that small because that wouldn't make sense. Looks like her chin is about right here. That's about how big her chin is. So just finish that line and end it right there. And she has kind of a skinny face. So we can even measure right here, like the space right here, looking at the reference photo. It's the edge of her lips and the edge of her chin. So let's look at that, and the edge of her chin is like about right there. And the diagonal at which her chin is going is like, it's basically like that. So her head shape looks, you can even take the ruler, make that diagonal. Some people might wondering like how high should this diagonal go? It's almost honestly like feeling it out. Like, does that make sense for her head to be that skinny? No. Does that make sense for her head to be that skinny? Kind of. Does it make sense for her head to be that skinny? It's just a matter of looking at your reference and figuring out how skinny to make it and which one looks the most accurate. So, um, like I said, that measurement from right there and right there, that looks probably about right. So you can erase all the other lines. It's about that wide. So, what about the side of her face? If you look at the reference photo, looks like it's, um, you can even use your eye measurement to figure out how far out should you make this line. Like if you're looking at the computer right now, how do you measure from here to the side of her face? Even use a red color for that so you can see. How do you measure from right here to here? How do you know where to put this line? Let's use your eye measurement tool. Oops. God, what's going on? Okay. Here, take that and use that as a measurement. So it looks like the eye is shorter than the width of the eye, or the width of the eye is a little bit shorter than the width of the head. Well, the space between right there. So if you take your measurement of the eye, put it there, like right where the eye ends. I mean, right where the eye ends, not the eyelash. Don't include the eyelash. The whites of the eye. It ends right about there. So if you look back at the digital reference, it's like there's a little bit of space, a little bit more space. So let's draw that in just a little bit more space. And that's about where the edge of the head is. So let's make that diagonal line there. Even go in a little bit, like just go with what actually it's a lot shorter there. Go with your instincts, man. So just draw that line right there. And yeah, that looks pretty good. Throw that in. You can even erase all that. So let's figure out where the ear is. All right, the ear is approximately ear approximately begins where the nose, where like the, where like the nose is. It kind of begins right there. So let's take your ruler or whatever, measure like that, the tip of the nose, create a faint line And that's about where the ear begins. So let's draw that ear in right there. Put the hair that covers the ear, render that a little bit. And let's finish off the bangs. How do you know how far the bangs go down? Well, look at your reference photo and you can see that it's only a little bit. It's like that much space. So, it's like that much space. Draw that in. You could even do some little hair strands, some nice hair strands going on. And just render that out, baby. And get those bangs in. On the other side, looks like her bangs go all the way down here. It's like at like a slight angle, something. Looks like that. Yeah, it just goes down a little bit. So draw that, curls out a little bit, and let's start drawing in the hair now. To be honest, nobody really notices how big the head is, but you want to give a lot of room for that cranium. So the hair goes down like that, being very rough here, very aggressive. All right. So let's start drawing the neck. The neck starts exactly where the end of her jawline is and just curls out. Just curls out a little bit. Just don't go too wide out. I don't think her neck is that wide. I don't think her neck is that wide. Sometimes you even have to go a little bit too skinny to notice that. Sometimes you have to go like really skinny to notice that, to notice the proportions. So almost exaggerating certain features will help you figure out where the feature is actually lying. All right, let's figure out the end of her neck. Is it about? It's about like the edge of her chin. So that's about where the it's about where the other side of the neck starts. All right, so by now you have a beautiful drawing. By now you have a beautiful drawing of whatever model you got, whatever model you can pay for this time. I don't really pay for my models. I just give them a good time. I pay them sometimes, but sometimes I pay them in food. um, yeah, and you just start like rendering everything out, adding shading. I'll make another video on how to shade. Um, Actually, my next video will be like how to shade. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. The better you get, the less that you'll have to use a measuring stick, using your eyes to using like the measurement of the eye to um, figure out the space in between each eye, or like figure out the distance from from the top of the eye to like the nose and stuff. Um, Figuring out the measurement from the nose to the bottom of the lip, and like cutting the eye in half to figure out the space difference, or like try to figure out like where the lips begin and whatnot. So yes, it's all a matter of using actual models instead of using other people's drawings, because other people's drawings can be flawed. Like this one is not perfect at all. Um, the eye's probably like too wide. Um, just like other like little things. But generally, you want to make the eyes proportionate to the head. So you don't want an eye that's like too big to the size of the head. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. My next one is gonna be about like how to shade. Um, I'll even like give you guys some drills to work on and get better at, um, placement and stuff. Um, so yeah, thanks guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next freaking video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and put on that bell notification so you'll figure out when I actually do post these videos. And yeah, stay artsy. You can stick around if you want to see me shade this in, but it's up to you. I'm just like kind of into it now. It's a cheekbone. My drawing looks kind of like a younger version